Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we got another episode of reviewing NHL teams offseason so far. As today we got the Seattle Kraken, and I'm pretty excited to talk about this one. I've been kind of waiting a little bit to make this video talking about the Kraken, so I could talk about their expansion draft, which, you know, I already did. You could go check out that video for my initial thoughts on the Seattle Kraken expansion draft, which I think I did, or I did like a draft video or whatever on it. But anyways, the Seattle Kraken, they had a, pretty good expansion draft. A lot of people hated on their expansion draft, and, they could have made a lot of better picks, but their defense looks pretty good. They have a lot of good defensive forwards, which I quite like, and they made a decent amount of moves at free agency too, picking up Jfresh, Alexander Wenberg, which I'm kind of meh on. But, not the worst thing in the world here for the Seattle Kraken. So before I get into that, I'd like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to stop that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. That'll be very much appreciated, boys. So let's get right into this one. As I think right off the get-go, let's just talk about the expansion drafts and talk about all the picks that they got, and kind of what happened every single one of these picks. So I guess we'll just start it off with Hayden Fleury. Not a bad move from the Anaheim Ducks. There isn't, a lot of players that you could have gone with the Anaheim, and I quite like what they did there, going with Hayden Fleury. Next up, second overall, Tyler Pitlick. Good move. They traded him off to the Calgary Flames, which we'll be definitely talking about later on. Jeremy Lauzon from the Boston Bruins. Not a bad defenseman. He was playing there, playing some big minutes there in Boston. Wasn't able to find his niche, but nice young defenseman there. Will Borgen, don't know a whole lot, but a nice young defenseman there for the Buffalo Sabres. Not a whole lot you could have chose from there from the Buffalo Sabres. Calgary, or they chose from the Calgary, Mark Giordano. Going to be a big leader, I think, for the Seattle Kraken in this upcoming season, and might be a trading asset going forward at the trade deadline if they really wanted to, if they're not a good team. But Mark Giordano, he definitely did have a really bad season this past year, but this is a former Norris Trophy winner 2 years ago. I don't know if he's able to be able to get back to that former self, because he did have a pretty rough season last year. And is he going downhill? He's an older defenseman, but either way, you're only having him for a year, so it's not that big of a deal. Morgan Geekie, this was a bit of a weird one because they were rumored to go right after Jake Bean, or from what a lot of people thought, they should have went after Jake Bean, but they went after Morgan Geekie, and maybe Ron Francis knows that, Geekie is showing something that we don't see. And then John Quenneville from the Chicago Blackhawks, a little bit of a weird one, but there wasn't a lot to choose one from. Jonas Donskoy, nice goal scorer from the Colorado Avalanche, a good choice there. Gavin Bayweather, I don't know why they went with Gavin Bayweather. I don't even, this was a weird one. I don't even have any explanation on why they went with him. I don't even know where he's at. I was going to take a look at his, his stats and stuff like that, but I don't even know where the hell he is. Where is he at? Gavin Bayweather. Did they not sign him? Is he not on the roster? Oh, wow. Okay, he was just like a random pickup and they just dumped him in. Okay. So this is a random pick, and I don't even know where he's at on the roster. So I don't know why they, exactly selected him, or what was the point of that. But anyways, that was a weird one, selecting him from the Columbus Blue Jackets. But once again, there wasn't a whole lot to select to, but there was still some decent players. I can't name them off the top of my head right now, but I'm pretty sure there was, a player or two that they could have selected that, either could have made it to the main roster, or maybe they didn't select it because maybe there was some better players out there, like we're going to be talking about more and more on. Maybe there was some better players that they thought, were better, and they maybe were just thinking, no, let's pick up Gavin Bayweather and just, throw him off if we really don't think he's going to fit the team. Jamie Alexiak from the Dallas Stars, which I absolutely love this move. He's a great defensive defenseman. He brings a little bit of a two-way game to him, though. And they signed him to an extension, which we're going to be talking about later on. Dennis Cholowski, nice defensive pickup there from the Detroit Red Wings. Wasn't able to find his game in Detroit. Was a very highly touted defenseman, but kind of fell off. And then Adam Larsson from the Edmonton Oilers, really good defensive defenseman. Had an amazing season this past year with the Edmonton Oilers. I think is going to be an amazing defenseman for the Seattle Kraken, and is a definite jersey I'm going to be buying once, I get some Skrilla. I'm definitely going to be getting that Larsson jersey of the Kraken without a doubt. Chris Driedger, really nice goalie from the Florida Panthers, especially, they're going to be having that tandem with Grubauer and Driedger. I think that's going to be an absolutely amazing tandem. McDermott, they traded him away, but this was a weird one, but they traded him away for a pick, so it's a W anyways. Carson Sosi, analytically, this defenseman looks really good. He's going to be a really good top six. He's going to be a really good top six defenseman moving forward for the Seattle Kraken, and I think he's going to fit in just perfectly with the Kraken. Cale Fleury from the Montreal Canadiens, not a bad one there either. Nice young defenseman, and we're going to be hearing a lot of that. They picked up a lot of, nice young players, and not like there was a whole bunch of fantastic players to pick from this expansion draft anyways. Kalle Yankeruk from the Nashville Predators, another, defensive signing for their forwards. He could play, anywhere he wants, especially as a forward. He could play the wing, could play center. He's just a really, diverse forward, and I think that's the reason why they went with him. Nathan Bastian, physical forward there from the New Jersey Devils. I think another nice selection. My boy Jordan Eberle, selected from the New York Islanders. Absolutely amazing pickup. We're definitely going to be getting into him and his analytics. Actually, let's do that right now. I'd like to just say, go check out my boy Jfresh. His link will be down in the description below, and he has some great analytics, and I'm going to be showing you one of his cards. And this is Jordan Eberle's analytics. And I got to say, this is going to be one of their main offensive contributors going into this year. Absolutely amazing offensively, and he's been like that for the past 3 years, especially playing on the New York Islanders. You might not be able to see that, but he's an amazing generator of offense. He hasn't been a big finisher, but he does score a lot of goals, and I think it's just going to be an amazing pickup for the Seattle Kraken moving forward. Colin Backwell, great energy guy for the Seattle Kraken. I think he's going to create a lot of energy for the team, and I think he's just going to be a really good pickup for the Kraken. Nice depth player. Joey Decord, in the times that he did play, he wasn't very impressive, but he did show some bright spots and could potentially be, third, fourth string goalie for the Seattle Kraken. Carson Tarniski. This was a weird one. There was a lot of good players that they could have selected from the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, there was a lot of big cap hit, and Francis said that he didn't want to help out teams in this expansion draft, so they decided to go after him because probably Philly was expecting, them to choose JVR or somebody else that had a bigger cap hit to help out the Philadelphia Flyers, and Francis, chose some random guy to not help them out. And, I respect that big toughness of him. And then they go ahead and choose another energy player in Brandon Tanev there from the Pittsburgh Penguins. Not a bad move there. Probably was one of the better picks from the Pittsburgh Penguins. Generates a lot of, physicality. Plays pretty well defensively. Still has a pretty big contract. But I think he's going to be probably one of the faces of the Kraken and a fan favorite. Alexander True there for the San Jose Sharks. Not a bad selection. Another, depth centerman prospect. Vince Dunn, I absolutely love this pickup. I think he's going to be, upwards of maybe a top 2 defenseman, but at least a good, really good, solid top 4 defenseman for the Kraken moving forward. He also signed an extension with the team as well, which we'll get on later on. Yanni Gourde, another really nice pickup from the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think this is going to be another big offensive contributor for the Seattle Kraken. And same with Jared McCann. Great two-way guy. I think he's going to be able to find that offense, and especially what he was showing in that preseason game just the other night. He's going to be a really exciting player for the Kraken. Cole Lind, Vitek Vanecek, and Mason Appleton. I like all those guys. Vitek Vanecek, they did trade him away. Mason Appleton, I think he's going to be a gem hidden in the dust. Honestly, this is a guy that, has been kind of playing down lower on the depth. He hasn't been able to find his game, but I think sooner or later, he's going to be able to explode and be a really, really good player for the Seattle Kraken. I don't think he's going to be like, upwards of a first liner, but I think he could potentially be second, third line player for the Kraken moving forward. So, that was a lot, and let's get into, the picks and the trades and all that sort of stuff. So, of course, like we were saying, Tyler Pitlick got traded away with a 4th. Not a bad move. Pitlick's, probably not worth, a 3rd or, 2nd. He's a defensive guy who plays the 3rd, 4th line minutes. Good pick, good trade there by the Kraken. And then they also get McDermott for a 4th round pick. Another great trade there because McDermott was a bum and they got a 4th round pick out of the deal. Not bad. And then they also got a 2nd round pick out of the Vitek Vanecek. So not a bad move there either. But not a lot of trades for the Seattle Kraken, as you can see. They, compared to what Vegas did way more trades than what the Kraken ever did at the expansion draft. And it was a pretty boring expansion draft if you ask me. But Ron Francis said that he wasn't going to take any favors and he wasn't going to give anyone anything. And that's what he went into. He wanted a clean slate. He didn't want any bad contracts. And basically that's what he had. Moving on to the draft now, and I really like what he did in the draft. He got Matthew Beniers, a nice two-way guy. You know, he's not going to be a flashy guy moving forward for the Kraken, but he's just going to be that type of two-way player that Ron Francis really loves. And I think he's going to fit in perfectly for the Seattle Kraken moving forward and be that future player that they need. And I think it's a great first pick in their franchise for the Kraken. The rest of the draft didn't look too bad. I don't know the rest of the picks, of course, because of COVID, and you know, I wasn't able to scout on most of the prospects this past season. And we'll talk about the free agent signings, which there is a decent amount that we got to go over. So be ready, ladies and gentlemen. So first up, we get to talk about the expansion draft picks where, you know, they picked up a UFA guy and then re-signed them. So first up, we got Drigger, who got signed to a 3-year, $3.5 million deal. I really like it. Chris Drigger's been a really good solid goalie in the Florida Panthers, you know, putting up, you know, 2 really good solid seasons. We'll have to see how well he does this year. You know, he's practically going to be really given the full reins as a tandem goalie with Philip Grubauer. So, you know, at least they have Philip Grubauer, but they are paying a decent buck for Chris Drigger. So it's going to be exciting to see how well Chris Drigger will play here with the Seattle Kraken. And will he just not be a one-off goalie, or will the goalie voodoo catch him? We'll have to see. But I'm really excited to see how well Chris Drigger, and I believe this contract is pretty well worth it, especially if he was playing the way that he was playing in Florida, throwing up, you know, .928 save percentage, the .930 that he threw up. If he does that again, this is a steal of a contract. Adam Larson, 4 years at $4 million. Absolutely blew me away. Absolutely amazing deal for Adam Larson. It sucks to see him go to the Kraken. I really would love to see him stay in an Oilers uniform. I can't spin around well enough to show you guys my jersey, but I wish he could stay in Edmonton, but he didn't. Larson, why? Too much fan. I can't be, you know, using my Oilers fandom in this video. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, Kraken fans. Anyways, Jamie Alexiak got a 5-year, $4.6 million deal, which once again, I love it. It's well worth it for Jamie Alexiak. He's a nice, great defenseman. Puts up some great defensive numbers. I think he's going to be amazing going forward for the Seattle Kraken. Wenberg, I really was not a big fan of this deal. 3 years at 4.5. I just don't like Wenberg right now as a player, and I don't know if he's really going to be able to build up towards this contract. Only had 29 points in 56 games. You know, he could throw up some goals, but it's far from what he did this year, and I just don't think it's worth it for Alexander Wenberg right now. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, but his analytics don't support him, and I just don't like, you know, the way he looks. He's just not the most gorgeous player out there. He doesn't put up big points, and especially getting paid that amount of money, I don't see it, especially at that term. And then James Schwartz, they got him at a $5.5 million, or 5 years. I totally twisted that one up, but 5 years, $5.5 million. I like this one. James Schwartz is a big-time leader player playing in St. Louis for the longest amount of time. He puts up a good amount of points. He's going to be a nice offensive contributor. Brings a little bit of a two-way game. Good pick up there with James Schwartz. And then they also get Philip Grubauer, who I think was almost up with that Vezina voting as well. He had an amazing season, a .922 save percentage, a .195, did pretty well in the playoffs. And this is the biggest thing, is if the goaltending and the defensive core can really carry it for the Seattle Kraken, this team could be a total playoff team. Of course, they got to get that offense going a little bit, but they got the goaltending in Grubauer and Chris Drigger, and I already really enjoy what they got there. And the Grubauer deal, if he's able to keep playing the way that he was able to play throughout this past season, even then, if he, you know, goes down to maybe a .915 save percentage every year, that's still a pretty solid contract for a goalie like Grubauer. He just needs to stay at that consistent rate for the next 6 years, and we all know how goalies are. They're a little bit voodoo. Otherwise, they got Marcus Johansson signed to a 1-year, $1.5 million deal. Not bad. Vince Dunn on a steal for 2 years at $4 million. And then, you know, some depth signings, getting Riley Seahan, Ryan Donato on the team, and then Cale Fleury as well. So, whew, big deep breath on that one. That was tiring. That was a lot of players to talk about here with the Kraken. Lots to go over. And that's the thing I love about it. I love that we were able to go over it. But, you know, looking at this team right now, looking at this offensive core, there's a lot to be worried about. You know, the first line, not bad. You know, James Schwartz, Wenberg, Eberle. If Wenberg's able to play really good, then that, you know, that top line looks pretty good. Once Yanni Gourde gets back and healthy, I mean, you might have a solid 2 lines. but you got to have a lot going, right? You had that Mason Appleton play good. Same with McCann. Donskoy still rip it up goal scoring wise. You need to have some goal scoring, and you don't have a lot. You don't have any of these guys who have passed over 20 in this past season. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 that, you know, have passed over 15 goals this past season. So that's a little bit worrisome looking at this squad for goal scoring. They don't got a lot, right? Everly, Schwartz, and Yanni Gord and Wenberg are your 4 goal scorers, and that's really it. Unless you start seeing more from McCann, and, you know, if you see more consistent goal scoring from Donskoy every single year, then that's great. But you look at the defense, I really like what I see. You got Dunn and Larson, Giordano, Oleksiak, Carson Sosi, and Fleury, and Grubauer and Trigger. That's a hell of a good back end there. And this is something that could carry you to the playoffs. It's just, if you can get this going offensively, you know, anything can happen. And, you know, they were able to pot some against the Vancouver Canucks. So, you know, I don't, you know, I'm not betting big time on the Seattle Kraken, but I wouldn't mind putting some money down on the Seattle Kraken, because this could be a team that could potentially, you know, prove some people wrong. Just like how the Vegas Golden Knights did. The Vegas Golden Knights team, you know, when we were talking about Vegas Golden Knights way back then, you know, we were probably saying the same things about the Vegas Golden Knights. Like, oh, we don't know where their offense is going to come. You know, defense is not terrible, but definitely not the greatest. You know, what is Shea Theodore and Colin Miller going to do? And they proved us wrong so damn hard. So I'm definitely not going to be putting down the Seattle Kraken. I quite like what they did throughout the expansion draft and what they did throughout the free agency. Now, yes, they could have had a better expansion draft. Yes, they could have got some better players throughout that expansion draft as well. But this is the team that they got. They went with a more defensive style team, and I don't mind it. Now, we'll have to see how it'll pan out there with Dave Haxtell and Ron Francis. And it's going to be kind of tough, you know, putting a label on this team and what type of grade I'm going to give them. Because, honestly, like, it's their first offseason. It was an entire expansion draft. And, you know, I'm going to give them, I think I'm going to go with a B-, just because they could have done more with the expansion draft, I think. They could have done a little bit more. But the goaltending's really good. A lot of the contracts that they signed are really good. So you know what? I'm going to go right in the middle with a B. I'm going to change it. I'm going to go right with a B with this team. I like what they did. You know, there were some things that they could have changed about it, but not bad. And, you know, Kraken fans or whoever else, tell me guys in the comment section below what you guys thought of the Kraken expansion draft and just their offseason alone. And yeah, I'm going to end the video here, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Adios, amigos.